Hello, everyone. Welcome to MSUFCU's Financial Education Seminar Series. We appreciate you all joining us today. These presentations were created with you in mind, with the intention to give financial education on a number of relatable topics to help expand your knowledge of finances. Each event will be hosted by a member of our financial education department or by one of our community partners, connecting you with resources in our community. You can check out other events we have lined up for you this season by going to msufcu.org/events. And you can also check out our recorded sessions on our seminar series YouTube channel. You can just go to youtube.com/msufcu and then select the seminar series from the playlist options. You can also use the Q&A function within Zoom to submit any questions you have throughout the presentation, and I'll go ahead and answer those in the order that they were received once we conclude the presentation today. So today we are going to be touching on the subject of understanding your credit report. So really digging into all of the details, what's on your credit report, and how to possibly dispute things that maybe are inaccurate. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we will talk about credit reports versus credit score and what the differences are between those two things. So understanding that distinction between the two is key because you can have a great report but still have room to improve your score and vice versa. And then next we'll go over how and where to access your credit reports for free. So that's a plus. And then we'll walk through how to read your credit report line by line, all those different details that are included. And finally, we'll review what to do if you find something that's incorrect or inaccurate on your report. So by the end of the session, we just want you all to feel more confident in reading, understanding, and maintaining what's on your credit report. So let's break down the 5 key sections you'll find on your credit report. I'm sorry, 4. So understanding what belongs in each section can help you kind of spot those errors and track your financial progress more effectively. So first we have the identifying information. So this is your name, address, date of birth, social security number. It's important that the items in this section are accurate. Even small errors like a misspelled name can sometimes cause reporting mix-ups. Next, we have credit information. So here you'll see a list of all of your credit accounts, credit cards, student loans, auto loans, mortgages, etc. It's also going to include any accounts that have been charged off by the creditor or anything that's been sent to collections. So this section will show whether accounts are current or past due, and it's one of the most influential parts of your credit report. Next, we have inquiries. So this tracks who has actually looked at your credit. A hard inquiry occurs when a lender actually pulls your credit to make a lending decision, like when you apply for a credit card or a car loan. And those hard inquiries can impact your score. Soft inquiries, however, checks by maybe employers, insurance companies, or even when you check your own credit, are considered the soft inquiries, and those are not going to impact your credit score. And then finally, we have the public records section. So this section may list serious financial events that have occurred, such as bankruptcies or foreclosures. These entries can significantly impact your credit score, and they may stay on your report for several years. When you review your credit report, check each of these sections carefully. Accuracy in one part can help protect and improve the other parts of your report. Some items that will not be included on your credit report and don't impact any of your scoring are race, color, religion, national origin, gender, marital status, and income. So now that we've covered what's on a credit report, let's talk about why it's so important to actually check yours regularly. Reviewing your report isn't just a formality, it's one of the most powerful tools you have for protecting and improving your financial health. So ultimately, the main goal is to improve and maintain credit. That's why we want to check our report. So this is going to help track your progress. Are you paying on time? Are your balances trending down? Are there any red flags? Understanding your report gives you the chance to be proactive, not reactive about your credit. This can also sometimes prevent identity theft. So credit reports can alert you to accounts that maybe you didn't open or inquiries that you did not authorize. Early detection of identity theft can help you stop further damage before it affects your score or your finances altogether. And then another reason to check is so that you can dispute inaccuracies. So mistakes happen. There's still human error when it comes to things being entered incorrectly or a typo being made when a lender, submits that application. You also want to make sure that there's not any like duplicate accounts or payments that were marked late that you actually made on time, or even if somebody else's information is appearing on your report. And you do have the legal right to dispute inaccurate information. So we'll touch on that a little bit more in depth in an upcoming slide. And finally, it's free. So there's no cost to access your credit reports. You can get one from each of the 3 major credit bureaus on a weekly basis, even. It used to be yearly, but after about 2020, they authorized it so that everyone can check their credit report on a weekly basis at annualcreditreport.com. So this makes it really easy to stay informed without having to spend any money on getting that report. So this is what the website looks like. Like I said, there's no cost to access your credit reports. You can get one from each of the 3 major bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax from annualcreditreport.com. And a little bit more in depth here. So when you visit annualcreditreport.com, you'll have to follow a couple of steps when obtaining those reports. So first, you have to fill out all of your, personal information on that form on the website. So name, date of birth, social security number, address, things like that. And then you'll also need to answer a few security questions that relate to information found on your specific credit report. So these questions could be identifying information, present or past accounts, kind of things that only you would know the answer to. And then from there, you'll be prompted to select which report you want out of the 3 bureaus and then submit that request. Also good to note, don't use a public computer or kiosk like at the library or something like that to request your reports, just to ensure that none of your information is saved to that computer. And then also, if you print your reports, make sure you're safely, storing those or destroying them, shredding them securely once you're finished with them. The credit union actually offers a shred day a couple times a year at some different locations. So check into that, check our events page, because that is a really good way if you do have, I know like in my household, we have a box of old paperwork that needs to be shredded that we kind of keep aside. And then once those credit union shred days come around each year, twice a year, we go ahead and bring them there and get rid of those securely. All right, so now we're going to look at some screenshots taken from the Experian credit reporting site. So this is, a pretty common credit bureau that a lot of people look into quite often. They have like a really easy to use app and things like that. So we just kind of wanted to go through a couple screenshots here so we can kind of explain a little more in depth what you're going to see on each one of these pages. So the first segment of the credit report that you'll come to is kind of like a dashboard of what you're seeing here, kind of a summary of your credit information. So up in that top right corner, you see your name, the date that you pulled the report, and the report number from Experian. And then the second at a glance section shows the name of or number of accounts that you currently have open, if there's any public records reporting, like those foreclosures or bankruptcies, and then how many hard inquiries that you've had currently reporting. And then right below that, we have personal information. So as you can see here, this person had 8 different names reporting, 5 different addresses, 3 employers, and 4 other records, just for this one person. So let's uncover why so many names or other information might be reporting under one person's social security number. So just because there are those multiple names, as you see here on the top left, or phone numbers or addresses, that doesn't mean that there's going to be inaccurate information reporting. So that information is compiled from any application that you have, submitted with lenders over the years. So maybe, they accidentally duplicated your name. Maybe they left out your middle name or just used a middle initial. So each one of those varying ways of inputting your name are going to show up on your credit report. As far as addresses go, any address that you use when submitting a credit application is going to appear on your report for all of time. Um, then we have different phone numbers that might show. The year of birth should be accurate and should only show 1 year, because you don't really want, if there is other years or other birth dates appearing, that could lead to inaccuracies, or maybe somebody else's information is getting pulled into your credit report. So that is something that you might want to look into a little bit further, dispute if you do notice that on there. Another as far as the names go, if you did have a, spouse or co-applicant, like a co-signer or joint applicant on a credit application, their name also might show up, and their social security number might also show up connected to your credit report. So that's not uncommon to see either. And then as far as employers go, this would be any employer that you listed on any credit application that you had submitted at that time. So none of those other things will really contribute to your score being affected, but it is, important to have that accurate information reporting. The next section here will be relevant to, what type of accounts you've had open in your name. So this will include any revolving credit accounts like credit cards or store cards, any installment loans like, student loans, personal loans, auto loans, and then mortgages and things like that. All of this information is reported to the credit bureaus by those lenders. And if you've met the terms of your agreements with them and made payments on time, they should report that the account you have with them is in good standing. So when reviewing this information, you'll see the account name, which is the name of that lender, your account number with them, the account type, if it's like a charge card or an auto loan, mortgage, student loan, things like that. And then the responsibility portion would be whether, you are solely responsible for this, if it's a joint loan with somebody else, or if maybe you're just a co-signer or an authorized signer on the account. It'll show the date that the account was opened, and then the current status. Maybe it's still open and being paid on time. Maybe it's paid in full, closed, refinanced, transferred. Also, it will state, if you have had a late payment, which would be 30 days or more late in the past, that is going to show up here, despite whether the account is currently paid to term. So lenders can see, even if it was like 5 years ago, they'll be able to see that you were 60 days late, in the past. So that still can, affect a lender's decision sometimes. Usually, the farther out you get away from that date, if you have been paying things on time, it will have less effect. And as far as collections go, usually if a account is delinquent, sometimes after 3 months, but usually that 3 to 6 month mark, the accounts are going to be transferred to collections or, charged off by that lender. They usually don't let it go more than 6 months. It'll also show recent payments that have been made. Those green dots show that everything was paid on time as far as that goes. The dashes that you see here, like in 2022 at the end of the year, that would mean that maybe there wasn't a balance, so no payment had to be made. So there wasn't any activity during that time. So that's not abnormal to see either. It'll also show the highest balance that you've carried on this account. So, if you have a, like on this one, the credit limit was $500. The highest balance that they carried is $458. So they have never gone over limit on this line of credit, which is good. Sometimes once you go over limit, especially if that balance carries over month to month, you're going to see that negative impact on your credit score a little bit quicker. All right, and then let's get into, oops, sorry here, let me go back. Okay, so now the next set of information here is the account information. So the lender's address will show here, which can be helpful if you need to reach out to them or correspond with them by mail. If you need a phone number for a lender, it's best to search that on your own or get it off your billing statement to contact them. But some of that information will be here on your credit report as well. Like I said, this is just with Experian, so we're showing specific to Experian. But they do have a cool feature where you can actually dispute something right there in the online account. So that's an easy way to kind of get the ball rolling if something is inaccurate or you need to dispute, a certain payment or something like that. All right, the public records section also, like I said before, will show those bankruptcies. If there were no bankruptcies filed in your name, then really that's the only public record that is going to be reported anymore. There used to be other things like tax liens and things like that, but all of the bureaus have decided to not report those as of now. So only if you've had a bankruptcy will that show here. And then with public records, you can see here it also shows as far as bankruptcies go, the type of bankruptcy, whether it be Chapter 7 or 13, if it was discharged, when it was filed, all of those kind of details. And also you can put a consumer statement in this section as well. So if you do happen to disagree with the outcome of that dispute or whatever happened there, you do have a chance to actually explain a little bit of your side right within the Experian credit report. The last section of the credit report is dedicated to inquiries. So inquiries are tracked to show which companies requested your credit report or your credit score. So they can remain on your credit for up to 2 years, the hard inquiries. So you have hard inquiry and soft inquiry. Hard inquiries result when you're applying for a new line of credit or a loan. And a soft inquiry occurs when your credit report is checked for other reasons, such as, those pre-approvals that you always get in the mail. Somebody actually, those lenders have gotten your soft score to base that pre-approval on. Or when you check your own score. Or there's other reasons sometimes employers will pull your credit or insurance companies nowadays will do that too. So hard inquiries can impact your score. Since the more credit you're applying for, the more at risk you potentially are for not being able to pay that, loan back. Now, credit reporting bureaus do allow you to shop around if you apply for the same type of credit within a matter of a couple of weeks. A good example of this is like when you're shopping around for a new car loan. So those, if you do, several of those within a short period of time, it's not going to impact your score as harshly as it would if you're, applying for a car loan, applying for a mortgage, applying for a new line of credit or a store card all at the same time. You're going to see a little bit bigger impact when it's different types of credit that's being applied for. Reviewing those hard inquiries can also be a great way to detect fraud before it happens. So if you do see a hard inquiry that's unfamiliar, you definitely want to dispute that and consider putting a freeze on your credit report, which is going to prevent any other lenders from being able to actually get your report. Once you put that freeze on, which you can do with each specific bureau, or if you have a service that a third-party service or something like LifeLocks that does that for you. But freezing the report, some people keep their credit report frozen at all times so that anytime there is an inquiry into their credit, they're going to be notified and they're going to have to give that special code in order to get that lender permission to access their report. So that can be a good preventative measure if you are worried about that. Hard inquiries are listed on your credit report by listing the lender's name, like as you see here, MSU Federal Credit Union, their address, and the inquiry date that it happened. And then usually it will also show when that hard inquiry will fall off of your credit report. So like I said before, those stay on for 2 years, but here it will show a detail of when it will fall off. And then as far as soft inquiries go, these aren't going to affect your credit. They take place when other lenders or agencies inquire about your score. So as I mentioned, employers might do this, insurance companies or those lenders that are looking to send you a pre-approval may do this as well. But also their information will all be listed here if needed. And then we talked about, initiating that dispute process with Experian. You can also do this with the other credit bureaus. Sometimes different information is reporting to the different bureaus. So usually you can find an address where you can submit, that dispute form if it's not available electronically like it is here in the Experian example. But following the dispute process is the consumer notification section here. So that section contains ways to obtain your FICO score, because usually when you pull your credit, you're not going to see an actual credit score. It's just going to be, the actual detailed information about what is on your report. Here in this example, it also shows how to contact Experian if you do want to dispute any other inaccuracies, some other ways to do that, addresses to send information to, etc., can all be found there. And then, so then we have another example here of how you can start the dispute process easily with Experian. I'm not sure if the other credit bureaus do have that option, but like I said, here they make it very easy where you just click a button and then fill out that form to initiate that dispute. So after you fill out that form, with Experian here, you'll have to create a username and password so that you can log back in to check the status of that dispute. They usually have you create that 4-digit PIN, as you'll see in the middle of the screen here. So it's all secure and only you can access it. Once you've completed that form, you can submit the dispute to them. Very important that you kind of keep any information that you have related to this dispute. So if you do have, proof of payment, if it is a payment dispute, you want to, attach that information or have those documents ready for once they respond to you. And then definitely keep all of that information together yourself so that, down the road, if anything comes of it and you need to, get this information to them again, you have it all kind of organized and ready to go on your end. For some more information related to accessing your credit, like I said, we talked about annualcreditreport.com, also Experian.com, TransUnion.com, and Equifax.com. You can go to each of those specific credit bureaus to find more information about your report or possibly access your report through them. But annualcreditreport.com will give you the option to access through all 3 bureaus on a weekly basis. All right, so let me see if we have any questions that have come up. If you do have any questions, you can go ahead and submit those in the chat now. I also wanted to let everyone know we have some upcoming seminars that you might find beneficial here. So if you are a member of MSUFCU, we have a couple seminars coming up that are going to help you kind of navigate your online account a little bit better and access and use all of the great digital products that you have access to as a MSUFCU member. So on August 6th at 6 p.m., we are going to have our member technical support team present on online and digital payment methods. So this one's going to focus on using online bill pay through our online platform, and just different things like that, Apple Pay. So these are all questions that come through from our members to our member tech support team, and they kind of go through all those frequently asked questions so they can get that information out to you so you can really know how to use those to the best of your ability. And then on August 12th at 6 p.m., we have our FinTech Spotlight. So all of our financial technology tools and products and resources that we offer our members. Our digital team is kind of going to go over all of those different products and services, how to use them, how to access them as a member. So that will be another really great informative webinar that night on August 12th. We also have the Funtivity Zone. So as you'll see on your screen right here, this is kind of just a platform that is really for our children to set them up for financial success. So you can scan that QR code to pull up the Funtivity Zone. There's going to be, a ton of videos and different lessons and things like that. They covers topics like budgeting and introduction to credit, and then simple things like needs versus wants and all of that type of stuff. So different age levels, it's going to kind of have a little bit of information for all of those different age levels depending on where your children and your life are at. So that's all we have. It looks like I don't have any questions that have come through. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. You can go ahead and give me your feedback on today's session by scanning that QR code on the left, or when you close out of the Zoom, there will be a survey that pops up, just a quick survey to get your feedback on today's presentation. So once again, thank you for joining us for the MSU FCU seminar series, and we hope to see you all at another event soon. Thanks. Have a great day.